Safety Steve the Sasquatch visits Ritchie Brothers. Hi, I'm Steve Kowalowski, but most people just call me Safety Steve. Why do they call me Safety Steve? Well, when I was younger, I was working for a company called Harry Homes that built log cabins in northern Alberta in Canada. Unfortunately, I had an accident. That's why I've got a wooden leg now. Since then, I've become a safety ambassador to companies all around the world. I've worked with thousands of companies. Up next, Ritchie Brothers. Ritchie Brothers sells big equipment and trucks at auctions all around the world. I love equipment. The bigger the better. Join me as we travel around the Ritchie Brothers world to learn about the importance of safety when working around equipment. On our journey, we'll see crawler tractors in Orlando, Florida, articulated dump trucks in Edmonton, Alberta, and so much more. Here we go! First stop is Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. This was Ritchie Brothers' first permanent auction site, and it isn't far from where I grew up. As a little Quachi, I dreamed of riding on a big bulldozer. But before you can drive, you need to get trained and certified. Here's a picture of me getting a lesson. Next up on our trip is Ritchie Brothers' site in sunny Orlando, Florida, in the United States. Ritchie Brothers is setting up for the biggest auction ever. More than 10,000 pieces of equipment are going to be sold in 5 days. With all that equipment moving around, it's important to wear personal protective equipment, including a safety vest and steel-toe boots. I wear my safety vest, boot, and helmet everywhere, even when I sleep. Can you guess what size my boot is? Equipment comes in all sizes, but no matter what, it's important to be careful when climbing on or off of it. Here in Mexico, I learned all about the 3 points of contact technique. When climbing on and off equipment, you always have to contact with the machine at 3 points. 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand. Ritchie Brothers conducts more than 350 auctions every year, and they hold a safety meeting before every single one to make sure safety is front of mind. I hold a safety meeting with my family every morning at breakfast. You can never be too prepared. When I visited a Ritchie Brothers auction in the Netherlands, I was lucky enough to go to one of these pre-auction safety meetings. Next on our trip is Australia. It's hot here, very hot. If you hadn't already noticed, my entire body is covered in fur, so you can imagine how hot I feel. Local Ritchie Brothers employees are used to the heat, but it's still really important to be protected with a hat and sunscreen, and drink plenty of water. Extreme conditions, whether hot or cold, have risks. I learned that we can't underestimate the power of weather. Just like equipment, Ritchie Brothers auction sites also come in all sizes. We've already visited big Ritchie Brothers sites in Edmonton, Alberta and Orlando, Florida. Next up is a smaller one, Beijing, China. Ritchie Brothers held its first auction in China just a couple of years ago. I was lucky enough to visit its most recent one. You notice bidders were set back from the equipment with rope and flags to keep them safe. Can you find me in the crowd? Putting on an auction is a lot of work. The teams in the field get help from people behind the scenes in offices. And even though there isn't any big equipment driving around the office, safety is still very important. People working in the office have to make sure there are no tripping hazards, that electrical outlets aren't overloaded, and that they aren't playing on their phones while they walk down the stairs. Walking down the stairs with a wooden leg is tough enough, let alone throwing texting into the mix. Thanks so much for going on this journey with me. I hope you learned as much as I did. Remember, no matter how big or small the issue, safety is always important. Make safety a habit at home and at work every day. Goodbye and see you next time.